Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's ClaritySoft training webinar. Today is Tuesday, December, what is today? 10th, 2019, and I'm Susan Arnold, Implementation Specialist here at ClaritySoft. Our topic this week is apropos to this time of year. It is on end-of-year reporting, and we're going to do some different reports to help you learn how to do some things for pulling your data that you've been entering into ClaritySoft throughout the whole year and get reports that will help you know where you've been, what you've done, and maybe how to proceed for the following year. So we're going to look at some different ones. We will be doing 2 reports in the reports module, 2 reports in the dashboards module, creating charts, and then we'll create an Excel report. So we will get a look at the 3 different ways to create reports in ClaritySoft. And before we create the reports, we're going to go to the different modules and create a view that will help you preview your data before you create that same filter in the report. And this will help you before you create the report to know, did everybody fill in the data correctly, or do I need to have the sales team go back and make some fixes? So that's how we will proceed for today. Going to go to ClaritySoft here. And the first report that we're going to create using the reports module is in the leads module. We're going to create a report that shows us all of the leads that were created during 2019 from January 1st through December 31st and group them by owner. Now you could group them by their status, you could group them by the lead source to find out, how many leads came in via particular lead sources so you would know. So a lot of different ways that you can group this data, but we will group it by owner. So what we're going to do first of all is we want to create a filter here that will help us see, well, how many records are we going to get or should we get in our report? And we're going to use advanced search for that. So my first step here is to come up to the top where this new filter is turned on, and I want to change this to all leads because I want to have all the leads that are in the database, no matter what status, what date, and all of that. Then I'm going to create an advanced search by clicking on the spyglass button and going to advanced search. And the only filter that I'm going to put on this is a time filter because I want to set it for 2019. And I want it based upon the creation date. When was the lead created? So I'm going to click here and choose creation date. Now, most of the time, I would tell you to click in year to date. However, in this case, because this is an end of the year report and you want to be able to run it maybe after January 1st and you don't want the date range to change, if we put in year to date, that works great as long as you run your report by December 31st. Well, if you also want to run it perhaps in the middle of January, then that's not going to work because as soon as it turns January 1st of 2020, your whole report is going to change. So in this instance, for these end-of-year reports, I'm going to recommend that you set a specific date range. And then no matter when you run it, it will always show the right data for 2019. And you can save it that way with that name. So we're going to put this in. I'm going to go back to January 1st to December 31st. And then I'm going to search. So basically what I'm doing here is just testing my filter to see what I come up with. So I can see that we didn't work very hard this year. We didn't have too many leads that were created during 2019, but we can see what we have here. All right. So this tests my filter. So I know that in my report, I should come up with a total of 9 records. And if I group them by owner, then I can see how many leads per record. I'm going to go to reports. And then I'm going to click on new report here in the reports module. And the first thing that you do is you select, well, what module are you pulling the data from? Well, I'm pulling it from leads. And then you click save. You are not asked to give a name. It simply makes the connection between the module and the report. Then we see a new screen with different tabs. And the first tab is the report type. We have 3 report types. A tabular report, which is simply a list of the data, and you can sort it with a primary sort and a secondary sort, but it doesn't group it in any way. It just gives you a long list. A summary report will group your data by whatever field you tell it to. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to group it by owner. I want to see the leads grouped by owner so I can see how many leads each sales rep or owner brought in during the course of 2019. And then a time-based report, we're going to do one of these, actually groups by date. And so you can see something per month, per week, per day, per quarter, per year. So we're going to do a summary report here. Then your second step is to choose what data fields you want to come into your report. So the first one that I want is the company field, and I can click on it and then click it to send it over here. Or on the other side, I can use the control click and select multiple fields. So I want the creation date because that one's important. And I'm holding the control key down. And I want owner. And then I'm going to let go of the control key while I scroll. And I want to see what status, and I want to see, perhaps if you also wanted to see if you have a field like this, I have a custom field in here for territory. I could also see what territory the leads are in, and I have an industry type if I wanted to see that. So you can pull in whatever you want into your report, and then when sorry folks, had an internet glitch here. All right, so where were we? Let's go back a little bit before we dropped out. We are creating a leads report, and we're creating a summary report, and we have added the columns of owner, company status, industry type, territory, and creation date. Because what we're doing is we want to get all of our leads that we brought in during 2019. So we're going to group the columns by owner because we want to see how many leads were brought in per person. Then we want to include the total number of records. That will give us a count of how many leads per person were brought in, and at the bottom of the report, the total number. The summary of columns we cannot do or don't need to do because we don't have any numeric fields that can be added or calculated in any way. And then the next most important one is the filter criteria. And this is what we did where we created the view in leads to say the creation date is a specific date range of January 1st to December 31st. And this is pretty much the only time I recommend you lock in a specific date range because we are trying to create it for just 2019. We don't want it to roll forward into 2020, at least for this particular report. So once I have everything set up here, I come down here and click save. And then I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to say 2019 new leads by owner. So I know that it's only for 2019. And then down here, you can select the folder where you want to store it. If you haven't created your own custom folder, then you can put it in the leads folder. I have one down here, and I'll show you how to do this shortly. And then save it. So now I have created my report. It's going to show me an example. Okay. Or no, not yet. I'm discombobulated, folks. I'm going to run the report down here, and then it will show me an example. So here it is. There are my 9 records. There's 4 here, 1 and 4, so that totals 9. And then I can come up here and click download and download it to either Excel, a CSV file, or a PDF file. And download it to Excel. And my Excel is popping up on the other screen. So there is my report. So the title of the report is the title of the spreadsheet. And then it has my leads grouped by owner as I told it. It gives me a count of how many leads per owner or salesperson, and then my fields are here. So I brought in the company name, what status it is, where I can see this one is set as a working lead, so the person's been working with it. This one is brand new because it was just created yesterday. So I can see the information here. So this is my report, gives you a nice quick look at it. And like I said, you could create another version of this report and group it by the status to see, well, how many new leads did you bring in and how many are currently working, how many are still new, how many were converted. Here's a converted one here. So that would help you know this, where those leads stand. Or you could do it by a territory to see what territory seems to be the main territory that you're in, or what industry type, are you finding most of your leads. So a lot of ways you can create the same report, group different ways, and just save them with different names. Okay, so that's report number 1. The second report, using the reports module, is to create a sales report. And what we want to do for this one is to create a time-based report where we want to find out all the sales that we've created during 2019 grouped by month so that we can see, how we did per month. So let's do that. So first of all, I'm going to do the same thing I did in leads. I'm going to come up here and say all sales to get a complete list of all my sales. And then I'm going to create an advanced filter again, advanced search, with the time filter to say the order date is a specific date range again. And you could do year to date right now, but if you were creating this report after the first of the year, then you'd want to go backwards to January or to 2019. So we're just going to do that all the way through. Okay, so order date between January 1st and December 31st, 2019. We'll search, and we should get a list of all of our sales. So down here at the bottom, we have 43 records with a total value of $185,000. So remember the $185,000, okay? And we can see here all of these. If I sort by the order date, They start in January and they go through to December. So I only have 2019 records. So I've confirmed that, and now I'll go back to reports. And we're going to add a new report. This time we're going to connect it to the sales module. Click Save. And this time we're going to do a time-based report. This is one that people don't often think about using, so it helps. All right, so for this one, let's see, we want to bring in the account and the order date and the, let's see, what else do I want to bring in here? Sale rep. In case you haven't realized it, in the sales module, the owner field is called sale rep. It's the same thing, just named differently, which can be confusing at times. Okay, and we want the subtotal. Oops, I messed that one up. Let me toss these over here and then do account. Okay, so I want the account name, I want the order date, I want the subtotal, and the sales rep's name. And then again, you could pull in if you had a territory field in here or any other custom field that you've added that you want to pull into the report. And just a quick explanation, there's a total field and a subtotal field. The difference is the total field will include tax and shipping. The subtotal field is strictly your products with no tax and shipping added. So that will give you a more accurate view of the values. And so let's see, I want to put this here. So I'm going to group this by date. So I want the order date first. And then I'm going to go to group columns. And then here you can see, because we chose a time-based report, it's giving me day, week, month, quarter, or year. Well, let's group it by the month. And then here, because we have this value field of the subtotal, I can get a sum. I can get an average per month here. I still want to check that one. And then summary of columns, I will get a grand total at the bottom. And then our filter criteria will be what we just set in the sales module. Order date is January 1 through December 31st. And if you wanted to add any other filter with the standard filter, you could if you wanted to find a particular type of sale. So I'm going to save it, and this is going to be 2019 sales by order date per month. And then again, I'm going to save it in my folder. Oops, I should know that. So that is now saved, and it's down here in my folder so I can run it. And we get a sample of it so we can see that we have all 12 months here. And then when I download it to Excel, I will get it in Excel. Here we are. So we can see that we have January 2019, and we have 3 records, 3 sales in 2019, or in January. It has the date, the account name, the sales rep name, and then the total amount. And then you can see per month, you have a sum of the subtotal, and you have an average, so that you can see what you average per month. And then at the very bottom, you have the total, and you have the average there. Now, we had 185, so something is a little bit different than what we had. So I'm not real sure what is different there. If we go back to our sales and look, see, that's why you want to run that filter, because we have 185 here. So there's a difference somewhere, which right now we won't take the time to figure out. But that's why you want to do that. So you can check that your numbers are correct from what you have in your module versus what you're getting in your report. Okay. And then I do want to go back to reports real quick and show you how you can create a new folder. Up here where it says new report, you click on the little down arrow and you can create a new report or a new folder, and then you can put in your own folder name. So just so you know that. And you can create different custom folders that you can have, or save them in the folders that are already here. The custom folders will always be at the bottom of the list, so that you know that and don't waste time trying to move them. Okay, so you can create your own folder and save your own reports in there. All right, so next ones, we're going to go to dashboards. And if you've not used the dashboards module in ClaritySoft, when you first go there, you get this very lovely blank screen. So your first step is to come over here and click on the vertical ellipsis button, and then you can click on settings. And you will get a list of the dashboards that are built into ClaritySoft. This is the same list that you will see in the home module for displaying on your home screen. So, you know, if here's leads by owner year to date, that's going to work through December 31st, and then it'll kick over into January. So we have our leads, and this is all leads. It's not, well, that doesn't look right either. Anyway, so that's there. But you can set your charts here. Now, new dashboard, we want to create a new one. And with this, similar to the report, you have different tabs that you need to fill in as you build your dashboard. The most important one is the data series, because here you're saying, well, where does the data come from and what data am I pulling into the chart or the dashboard? So what we want to do is we want to create a chart that shows the sales figures by the sales rep in a percent, like salesman A did 40%, salesman B did 20%, so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to build. So first of all, the data source is the sales module. Then the value property will be your y-axis, okay? And the type that we want is a function. We want to do the sum of, so notice you have sum of, count, average, max, or min. We're going to do the sum of, and then we pick the field, and what we want here is the subtotal field. And then your scale type in this instance is going to be percent. Then the argument is the y-axis data, and that is going to be the sale rep. Okay. My internet seems to be really slow. There we go. And then the scale type can be auto, and everything else is here. Then this ignore empty, what you want to do here is click this so that when it's generating the data, it won't include someone that's had nothing, okay? So you almost always want to click on this ignore empty checkbox for any chart that you create. All right, so it shows us a sample over here so we can see how our data is being created, and it's defaulting to a bar chart. Next step is to choose, well, what chart type do you want? And so you click here and you have your different types of charts. These are similar to what you get in Excel. And I think in this instance, the pie chart is probably more representative and easier to read than the bar chart. So I'm choosing a pie chart, and we have our legend over here to show who's where. Enable labels means that labels, when you that when we see the chart, it will have labels to show what percent each of these slices of pie is. Chart title, we can do to 2019 sales by rep, and I'll just put well, I better type percent. Okay, and you can put a subtitle, you can put a title with your X and Y axis. We don't really need that. And then legend, first of all, you can turn the legend on or off, and in this case, we definitely need the legend. And then you can say, well, how is it oriented? Horizontally or vertically? What position is it in? Is it at the top? Is it at the bottom? So you can move it around. And then also, is it on the right, the center, or the left? So if it's on the right now, if I move it left. So you get to control where you want your legend to be, okay? And if you want a border around it, you can have a border around it to set it off with a little box. And then you also can change the color of the border if you want. And so you have a lot of control here. So you set all of that. Then the tooltip here, if you enable the tooltip, which it is, that means when you're out in the chart itself and you point to one of these pieces of pie, it will pop up with the percent that you have. And you want to pick a color. I think I've discovered that you want a darker background because the print for this is light. And then appearance, you can select different color schemes. So I can change that. So you can pick what colors you want. Okay. All pretty simple. There, nice and bright. Drill down in the dashboard means that you can have a report in the reports module that shows the same information but in a report format so that you could actually see the detail. So if you created a report in the reports module that shows the detail of the sales and the amounts, then you can attach it to the chart. And then the person viewing the chart could click on the drill down button that shows and say, oh, okay, this is the detail which is giving me the result of this chart. We don't have one. And then our data filter, what we want here, we don't need a data filter actually. We need a time filter. And again, this one being sales, it's going to be the order date and the date range. Is January 1st to December 31st. And so we have all of our components set. And now we have down here a save as and a save. If I click save, then the chart is going to be saved with the name that's on the chart title. So it will be saved with 2019 sales by rep percent. If I want to give it a different name, then I can do save as. So as long as you've named it in a way that you want to save it by that name, you can just click save. And it will return you back to the main dashboard screen. And you will see your chart here. So you can see it's showing the percents by default, but then it's showing that actually the print here is darker. So I would want to go in and either turn that tooltip off or change the coloring. Because since this is already here, I don't really need those tooltips. And if I want to do that, I just go to edit here and go to the tooltip tab and uncheck it, and then that would turn it off. So uncheck this, click save, and it's done. So that's one dashboard. All right. Next dashboard, real quick, is I want to see all the accounts created last year or 2019 by industry type. So I'm going to click on New Dashboard. And Accounts. Now here for the value property, what I want to do is a function, but this time I want to do my internet is being a bit stubborn here. Oh, wait, I have to fix, I'm clicking on the wrong thing. So here I'm going to do the count of accounts, however many accounts are coming in. And in this case, the scale type can be auto. The argument property is going to be the industry type. So now I can see I've got retail, manufacturing, so on and so forth over here, and then I can see how many accounts in those areas were created. And then again, I'm going to do ignore empty. The chart type, probably again, the best type for this would be a pie chart. Just makes it a little easier to read overall. And we're just new industry type. Legend will leave the same. So all of this, and then the only other thing we need to set is the time filter. And this case, we would do the creation date again for all of the account records that were created in 2019. And we're going to do our fixed date range. And like I said before, this is the only time I recommend doing the fixed date range, because otherwise you have to keep coming in and changing it. And in this instance, we don't want it to change because we want it fixed for the year. All right, click save, and that chart is then done. So you will have two charts on your screen. Now in the dashboards module, you may display up to 10 different dashboards, okay? And in the home screen, you may show up to 4 different ones. Whatever charts you create in dashboards, when you go to the home module and choose headers, anything that you've created here shows up in the list. So that makes it nice, because then you can have 4 in your home screen and 10 here, which would give you a total of 14 displaying at any point in time in your database. Okay, so last report we want to do is in Excel reports. And what we want to do here, we want to create opportunities that were won by the sale rep for 2019. So when I go to opportunities, I have all opportunities here, and I have already created and saved a view. So for 2019, one opportunity. So what this is looking at, the filter is looking at two things. It's looking at the stage being equal to 1, and it's looking at a close date of sometime between January 1st and December 31st of 2019. If I click here to sort, you can see I have some going through. So here our total is 145,000. So kind of keep that in mind. So we have that set up. Now we're going to go to Excel reports. And these are going to be grouped by the rep. So when we get to Excel reports, again, you will have some folders here. And you can immediately click here and create a new folder for yourself. And then you click on New Excel Report. Similar to the reports and the dashboards module, first of all, here you have to say, well, what folder do I want it in? So you're choosing what folder first. So I want to put this in Susan Webinar Reports. And right here you can create a new folder if you want to. Then you give it a name up front as well. So I want this to be 2019 1 rep. And then if I want to type a description in here, I can. And then click Save. So it is asking you for the folder location and the report name up front when you're creating an Excel report. Then the next step here is it's asking you for a source type. So this is the data source. What module do you want to pull the information from? Well, I want to pull it from opportunities. And then you give the sheet in the workbook a name, and it can be the same, or you can make it different than the source type. All right. And then you click Save. Similarly now, it is going to ask you to select the data fields that you want in your report. So this is similar to the reports module. And we are going to do account and close date and owner and amount. And in this case, I'm going to choose the product field. Again, you could pull anything over that you want to see. If you have custom fields in your opportunities module, you would just simply scroll down to where your custom fields are and pull them in. And maybe I want to pull in territory. All right. And then you can have them probably in this order is fine. Okay. You can just like before, you can move them up and down. Then sort columns. This allows you to sort, do a two-level sort here. So I am going to sort by the owner first. And then you could either do the close date or the account second. So it would have the owner and then it would have all your close dates in a date order, which probably makes sense. And then the last step here is to set the filter criteria. And this will be the same thing we've been doing. And in this case, we're going to set the close date for January through December 31st. All right. And then we click Save. And the difference here with the Excel report, and some of you can explore this if you're really good Excel whizzes, you can move forward here. What you can do in an Excel report that you cannot do in the Reports module is you can add multiple source sheets. And then you can use formulas within your template that you build to combine the data together into, you know, different pivot table, pivot charts within the same report template. And it's really pretty exciting how you can do those sorts of things. We're only going to do one sheet, but if I wanted to add a new source, I could simply click over here and I could pull data in from the sales module, or I could pull it in from the quotations module or wherever. And then the fields, you pull in the fields that you need, and then you can get combinations of fields across modules in your report. All right, so we've got what we want, and we're going to click the back button to go back to our list of reports. And so we can see right here is the report that I just created. So what I want to do, I'm going to do this a little differently than maybe what the directions on our knowledge base tell you, but I think it's easier to understand. I'm going to click on the report to run it. And it pops up down here. And when you get in here, you have to click Enable Editing and then Enable Content, because this is macro based. And when you get here, you say, well, this is lovely. I have a blank sheet. Well, actually you don't. You have sheet 1 down here, which is blank, but there's my opportunities sheet that has my data. Okay, so there is my data. And all of my close dates should be in 2019. So you can kind of confirm that. And everything is here. So this is, you know, not terribly exciting. It's just a list. And what I want to do with this is I want to create a pivot table and a pivot chart that will show this in a more graphic format to make it easier to see. So I'm going to click on sheet 1. You could do it on the same sheet, but usually it's nicer to do it on a separate sheet. And I'm just going to click here, then go to Insert, Pivot Table. And the first thing that comes up is this window that says, we'll select a table or a range. So what I want to do while this is open, click on the Opportunities tab and then begin selecting my range. And you want to include the column headings. And you just drag down. Now when you get down here, you could stop. However, that locks in the range. And if you, in another month, I mean, it would work for this report because you're doing the whole year, but if you were only doing the first month and having it move forward month to month on your time filter, then the next month, you know, the first month you might have 10, the next month you might have 25. Well, if you set the range at the end of this month's list, then next month is going to chop off those other 15. So what you want to do is you want to keep going down and you would kind of know how many you need, and you can go down so far, and then you can actually type a number in here. So you could come up and say, I want to go to row 150. Some of you might need to go down 1,000 rows, especially if you're trying to pull this in for a year or something, maybe more. So you put in the range that you think you need, and then click OK. Then your pivot table is showing up here, and you've got your information. So what you want to do is you put your owner field in, which will show up in your rows, and you put your amount, which will be in your values. So over here now, we can see our sales reps, and we can see their total, and we can see the total here. Now, notice there's blanks. Well, those are all those blank rows that I selected. And if I come up here and I turn off the blanks, then that will disappear. Okay. And then the next thing is I want to set a number format. So I usually just do this, is select the whole spreadsheet and then go up and choose. I like to do it this way. I don't want any decimal places, but I do want commas. So that sets the number spreadsheet for everybody, for the whole spreadsheet, okay? So once I've done that and have that set up, then I can insert my pivot chart. So I can go back to the insert menu, and you can go to pivot chart here and click on it. It will then bring up different types of pivot charts that you want to see. Again, maybe it's easier to see a pie chart. And you could pick a fancier pie chart and put that in. And then if you've worked with Excel charts before, you can make it bigger. And then you can change its title and all of that. So you can begin to edit the chart and make it look like what you want. So 2019, oops. Oh, I know what I forgot to do, guys. If you notice, my numbers came out differently in here. They're 344 versus 185. If you're really thinking out there, I forgot to add to the filter that the sales stage is equal to 1. That's why the numbers are different. My fault. Okay? But we can fix that. Okay. So that's there, and you can, again, format this the way you want and get it all the way you want it to be. And then the next thing you're going to do is save this as a template, okay? But before we do that, we want to get rid of the data that's in here. So we're going to go over to the Opportunities tab where the data is, go back up to the top, and I'm going to select all the data and just hit the delete key. And when I return here, this all blanks out because now there's no data, but it's all the way I want it to be. So then I can come up here and do a save as. And okay, and it will have the name down here. Okay, let me do this. I'm going to change the name a bit. Okay. So that is now saved, and I can close the file. This one is already over with. And then I can return back to here. So here's my report that I just saved. My next step is to take this template and upload it. So I'm going to click on the row action button, and I want to upload the template. And then it's pointing to where I saved it, and this is the version 2 that I just created, and I click there and it saves it. So now it has been uploaded to the server, and then when I run the report, it will run and pull the data in. Now what I want to do is edit the report, but we won't do that now because we're out of time. But that's how you can do your Excel report and pull in your information. And the data is on this source sheet. So you see your source sheet there. And then your pivot table. Now you could fix this some more, get rid of the grid lines back here and make this look really pretty. So there's a lot of things that you can do with it. All right, well, hopefully that gave you a good start on creating some year-end reports for yourself, and you can go and do it. Sorry about the glitch with the internet earlier. So hopefully you were able to get everything that you needed out of this. And with that, I'm going to just go ahead and say goodbye here real quick. And thank you for attending. And if you need any help with anything, you can connect or contact our tech support team at 888-838-7487 extension 2, or email them at support@claritysoft.com. So go and have a wonderful rest of the day, and hopefully you have some ideas on how to do some year-end reports.